I want to share my thoughts on this topic. Something that came to my mind is it possible to be a part-time kung fu master? In my eyes, it can't. Like it kind of contradicts itself. Like master is like representing like pretty much like perfection almost, and like that doesn't happen in part-time. So kung fu is a lifestyle, and it's a life practice, and full time is representing more of your life's work. Part time is not it. And if you think about it, like people in like most respectable professions, you know, doctor, lawyer, a professor, you know, police officer, like you study, you go to college, you study to get to a certain level, and then you get into your career choice, and that's your full-time work. Even like a school teacher, like you go full-time 40 hours a week, and they might work for 30 years straight and then they retire. So it's like the same as that, like if you want to be a kung fu master, you got to put in that type of dedication, if not more, not anything less. It demands that. So somebody wants to be a doctor, then they have to put in all that studying, get all the certifications, go into the field, and they might work for 30, 40 years and then they retire and they work full time. So to me, Kung Fu Master is like that, where you dedicate, full time, your most of your time, which is full time, into your practice, and that's what you do, and that's your life. And if you don't do that, then you're not a master. You might be proficient, you might be like, you know, you might be good, but you're not going to be to that level, that caliber. Same thing with professional sports. NBA, NFL. You train so hard from a young age to get to a certain level. You make it to the NBA, and you have a long career, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and then you retire. And they're playing full time. So anything part-time, you're not going to make it to that high level. That is not the level of mastery. Same thing with people that go to the Olympics. They put in all that time to get to a certain level, so then they can make it to the Olympics. That does not happen in part-time. That happens full-time. So in order to be a master, it's got to be a full-time practice. That's just basically what is required. Now, when it becomes for Kung Fu, for martial arts, there is no retirement. So the difference with Kung Fu and sports and Kung Fu and a regular profession is that it's not something that you retire from. It's just something that you might adjust how you train, according to where your body's at. But the practice will go on until you pass away. So there is no retirement from it. So like even Michael Jordan, considered by many to be the greatest of all time in basketball, he retired and now he doesn't play basketball anymore. He does other things. But imagine if he is the greatest of all time, he retires from the NBA, but then he doesn't stop playing. He still plays. He plays on his own, plays pickup games, plays, in different leagues, or he gets into coaching, and then he's still a part of the game, but then focusing on different aspect of the game. Like he's still very much involved in the game. So imagine he did all that and then he passed away. That's a different type of development than what is currently happening with him, where he just retired and then never looked back. So in Kung Fu, it's like you're gonna keep training, not just through your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, but you're gonna keep training till 70, 80, 90, until you pass away. And it's a lifelong dedication practice, and that's what it takes to be a master in my eyes.